Men respond to mindset, not just looks. A woman's beauty might catch a man's eye, but it's her mindset that keeps his attention, earns his respect, and determines whether he stays or walks. Too often, we think attraction is all about physical appearance. The hair, the smile, the figure. But that's just the surface. The truth is, physical attraction might start the conversation, but it's the woman's energy, her boundaries, her confidence, and how she carries herself that shapes the direction of that relationship. When a woman walks into a room with quiet confidence, not looking for validation, but radiating self-assurance, men take notice, and not just in a physical way. There's something powerful about a woman who knows who she is and doesn't need to prove it. She's not begging for attention. She's not adjusting herself to fit someone else's expectations. She's already full, already grounded. That kind of woman forces a man to show up right or not at all. He knows instinctively that she's not the type you play games with. A man may be intrigued by looks, but he gets serious with a woman who challenges him mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If a woman leads with her appearance and neglects the deeper parts of who she is, she may find herself consistently attracting men who want her body but not her mind. But when a woman leads with her standards, her faith, her values, and her vision, she naturally filters out men who aren't ready for the level she's on. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. See, men are hunters by nature, but they don't want just any prey. They want the prize. They want the woman who knows how to stand alone, who isn't desperate to be chosen because she's already chosen herself. That mindset is magnetic. It says, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to see if you even qualify for my space. A man will play with a woman who lacks boundaries, but he will pursue the woman who knows her value. That's the difference mindset makes. A woman with a strong mindset doesn't fall for sweet words or surface-level charm. She's not impressed by how fast a man texts back or what car he drives. She's watching for consistency. She's listening for honesty. She's measuring whether his actions line up with his words. And men who aren't ready for accountability, men who are only looking for something casual or temporary, they fall back because they know they can't finesse a woman who's clear on who she is. The way a woman thinks about herself sets the tone for every relationship she allows. If she believes she's hard to love, she'll accept mistreatment. If she believes she needs to earn a man's affection, she'll overgive and underreceive. But if her mindset is, I am worthy of love, respect, and peace, then she stops entertaining people who offer her chaos and confusion. That inner belief, that internal dialogue, men feel that. It changes the way they approach her. It filters out the ones who just want access without effort. Mindset shapes how a woman reacts to red flags. A woman with the right mindset doesn't try to fix a broken man hoping he'll become what she needs. She lets him go. She knows that peace is more important than potential. She's not here to babysit, to beg, or to build a man from scratch. She's here for partnership, and she won't accept less just to avoid being alone. That strength, that emotional clarity, men feel it immediately, and they act accordingly. The wrong ones disappear, the right ones step up. It's not about being cold or distant either. A strong mindset doesn't mean a woman is closed off. It means she's selective. It means she knows the difference between chemistry and character. She's soft, but she's smart. She can love deeply, but she doesn't love blindly. And that kind of woman shifts the entire dynamic. Men don't just see her beauty, they feel her boundaries. They sense that she's not impressed by empty promises. They know she expects depth, growth, and effort. The truth is, mindset is everything. Looks can only take a woman so far. At some point, the real question becomes, how do you see yourself? And what are you allowing in your life? Because men are watching, listening, and responding, not just to your appearance, but to your presence. And your presence is shaped by your mindset. When you operate from a place of wholeness, clarity, and purpose, you naturally attract men who are serious, secure, and seeking something real. Self-worth stops the cycle of being played. It's the invisible line that separates women who keep getting caught in situationships, mixed signals, and empty promises from women who walk in peace, clarity, and respect. When a woman knows her worth, she doesn't fall for just anything. She doesn't chase after attention, beg for love, or hold on to someone who gives her breadcrumbs. She recognizes that being chosen isn't about doing more, it's about understanding what she deserves and refusing to settle for less. Too many women are stuck in cycles where they keep. When your self-worth is low, you accept behavior that doesn't match your value. You make excuses. You tolerate disrespect. You confuse potential with reality. And in doing that, you teach people how to treat you. A woman with high self-worth doesn't try to convince a man to see her. She doesn't explain over and over what she needs. She doesn't twist herself into someone else just to feel loved. She stands in her truth and lets her standards speak. She doesn't chase closure, she creates it. She doesn't hold on to almost love, hoping it will become real. She walks away the moment she realizes her peace is being disturbed. That doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from understanding that love should never feel like pain disguised as passion. When a woman values herself, she no longer entertains men who drain her. She stops answering late-night wide texts from men who only call when they're bored or lonely. She stops being the one who always initiates, always forgives, always fixes. She realizes that her energy is a gift, and not everyone deserves access to it. And once that shift happens, the game changes. She no longer asks, "Why is he doing this to me?" Instead, she asks, "Why am I allowing it?" That's the turning point. That's when the cycle starts to break. The reason so many women stay stuck is because they've been conditioned to believe their value lies in how much they can endure, how long they can wait, how deeply they can love someone through their brokenness. But love isn't proven through suffering. You don't earn commitment by sacrificing your self-respect. Sacrificing yourself endures when nothing else finds final satisfaction. You don't get loyalty by staying silent when you're hurting. A woman who knows her worth understands that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. She knows that losing a man who couldn't meet her needs isn't a loss, it's a blessing. Self-worth makes you stop blaming yourself for other people's behavior. It frees you from the need to fix people. You stop seeing rejection as a reflection of your inadequacy and start seeing it as redirect. You begin to understand that a man not choosing you has nothing to do with your value and everything to do with his vision. And you stop shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's limited perspective. You expand, you grow, you rise above the noise of doubt and remind yourself daily that you are enough as you are, not after weight loss, not after healing someone else, not after he finally sees your value, but right now. When a woman operates from self-worth, she chooses different. She doesn't look for chemistry alone, she looks for consistency. She's not impressed by potential, she's focused on patterns. She doesn't chase a vibe, she waits for effort. And when someone doesn't show up right, she doesn't fall apart, she lets go, not out of bitterness, but out of deep respect for herself. That kind of energy is powerful. It shifts the type of men who approach her. It filters out the manipulators, the time wasters, the emotionally unavailable, because they know they can't run game on someone who sees through the nonsense. And even when it hurts, even when the goodbye is painful, self-worth reminds her that temporary loneliness is better than long-term disrespect. She doesn't settle just to have someone. She doesn't accept confusion just to feel desired. She would rather wait alone than waste time in something that steals her joy. That is strength. That is freedom. That is what breaks the cycle. When a woman realizes her heart isn't a playground, her time isn't disposable, and her love isn't a reward for inconsistency. A woman with self-worth doesn't need to be played to learn. She learns from her own wisdom, from her own standards. She stops letting the wrong people write chapters in her story. She closes doors that no longer serve her and locks them with grace. And once she starts walking in her worth, everything changes. Her circle, her peace, her love life, her entire energy. She becomes untouchable to the nonsense she used to tolerate, and unstoppable in the life she's now creating. That's not laziness or arrogance. That's understanding the laws of self-respect and emotional balance. Chasing someone, especially a man, means stepping out of your natural role and into a place of desperation, and that never works long-term. It creates imbalance. When a woman starts doing all the calling, all the texting, all the planning, all the asking, where is this going, she starts leading the connection. But the truth is, men value what they pursue, not what's handed to them without effort. It's in their nature to hunt, to prove, to pursue what they see as valuable. The more a woman chases, the more she removes the opportunity for a man to show his intentions. And without pursuit, there is no investment. A woman who knows her worth doesn't have to beg anyone to see it. She isn't trying to win someone over or constantly prove she's a good woman. She knows she is. She focuses on her life, her growth, her peace. And that energy draws the right man toward her. She lets the ones who aren't meant for her pass by without resistance. Because when you're busy chasing, you're often ignoring the signs. You're blinded by potential, hoping they'll eventually appreciate you, but the truth is, if you have to chase it, it probably doesn't want to be caught. A man who's truly interested doesn't let a woman chase him, he steps forward. Attracting, on the other hand, starts with wholeness. It means filling your own cup, so you're not out here begging for drops from someone else's. It means knowing who you are, standing in your value, and letting your energy do the talking. A woman who attracts is intentional. She chooses peace over pressure. She doesn't force conversations or keep knocking on closed doors. She knows that. If it's not mutual, it's not healthy. She trusts that the right person will recognize her spirit and make consistent effort without needing to be pushed or reminded. There is a big difference between showing interest and chasing. You can show interest, you can smile, be open, be kind, but once you find yourself initiating everything, overgiving, or constantly feeling anxious about where you stand, you've moved into chasing territory. And that's where self-worth gets compromised. Because chasing usually comes from fear. Fear of losing someone, fear of being alone, fear that you won't find better. But attraction comes from abundance. It's the mindset that says, if it's meant for me, it'll come. If not, I'm still whole. Many women were taught that if you don't chase, you'll lose the guy. But what you really lose when you chase is yourself. You lose your peace, you lose your power, you lose your voice trying to be what someone else wants. But when you attract, you operate from a place of choice, not need. You observe how someone treats you, not just how they make you feel. You don't have to manipulate or convince. You just be. And the right energy flows to you. When a woman stops chasing, she stops settling. She doesn't entertain confusion. She doesn't stay in situations where she's constantly questioning her worth. She's not impressed by temporary attention. She values consistency, clarity, and character. She knows love should never feel like a project. She doesn't get excited over someone showing up once. She gets excited about someone showing up always. That's the power of attraction. It filters out inconsistency without you lifting a finger. You attract better when you treat yourself better. The way you speak to yourself, the way you protect your peace, the way you walk away from what doesn't feel right. All of it sends a message to the universe and the people around you. It says, I'm not available for halfway love. I'm not here to prove anything. I am the prize. And the right man, he'll recognize that energy. He won't run from it. He'll rise to meet it. Because men don't value women who do the most to get their attention. They value the ones who already have it without even trying. Boundaries speak louder than ultimatums. They are quiet but firm. They don't scream, don't threaten, don't beg for change. They simply state, this is what I allow in my life, and this is what I won't tolerate. A boundary is not about controlling someone else. It's about controlling yourself. It's about having a strong enough sense of self-worth that you no longer feel the need to demand what should already be given. Respect, honesty, consistency, and peace. Ultimatums are loud. They're often emotional, reactive, and rooted in fear. A person gives an ultimatum when they feel powerless, when they've begged, hinted, hoped, and waited, and nothing has changed. But by the time the ultimatum comes, it's usually too late. The power dynamic has already shifted. The other person knows they can keep pushing, keep slacking, keep playing games, and all they'll face is words. Empty threats, promises to leave that never materialize. That's the problem with ultimatums. They're often not backed by action. Boundaries, on the other hand, are backed by behavior. You don't have to say much. You don't have to yell. You don't have to make someone afraid of losing you to get them to act right. You simply make a decision, this doesn't align with who I am, and I won't accept it. And then you act accordingly. You stop showing up for people who don't show up for you. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't want to understand. You stop giving second, third, and 10th chances to someone who keeps showing you who they are. When you operate from a place of strong boundaries, you create clarity. People don't have to wonder how to treat you. They know. And if they cross the line, there's a consequence. Not because you're trying to punish them, but because you love yourself too much to stay in situations that drain you. Boundaries don't demand respect, they command it. Not by force, but by presence, by energy, by the way you walk away from chaos instead of trying to fix it, by the way you choose silence over arguing, by the way you don't wait around hoping they'll change. People learn more from your absence than they do from your lectures. When you stop participating in dynamics that hurt you, you send a louder message than any ultimatum ever could. It says, I don't have to stay here to prove my loyalty. I don't have to keep sacrificing myself to be loved. I don't need to be chosen. I choose myself. That's what boundaries do. They teach people how to treat you without needing a long conversation. They protect your peace without making you seem defensive or difficult. They help you stay aligned with who you really are. Ultimatums often come from a place of fear. Fear that if you don't say something dramatic, you'll be overlooked. Fear that if you don't threaten to leave, they'll never step up. But fear-based communication only works temporarily, if at all. They might scare someone into doing better for a week or two, but it rarely creates lasting change. People who only respect you when you threaten to walk away were never fully committed to honoring you in the first place. Boundaries, however, come from love. Love for self, love for peace, love for the kind of life you're building. They aren't desperate or manipulative. They're clear, calm, and consistent. You don't have to announce them every time. You just live them. When someone violates your boundary, you don't go into a monologue. You make a move, you limit access, you stop explaining, you start protecting. And the shift is so powerful, people can't help but notice. This is how respect is earned. Not by asking for it, but by refusing to stay where it doesn't exist. Boundaries draw a line in the sand that says, I am not for everyone, and that's okay. But if you want to be in my life, there is a standard. That's not being hard to love. That's being responsible for your own well-being. It's understanding that love without respect is chaos, and connection without boundaries becomes codependency. When you use ultimatums, you often end up feeling more drained, more frustrated, because they place the power in someone else's hands. They're about hoping someone else will finally make the right choice. But boundaries put the power back where it belongs, with you. You don't hope, you don't wait, you decide, you move, you grow. You choose to surround yourself with people who get it, who respect it, and who never make you question whether you're too much for asking for the bare minimum. Peace is more attractive than pressure. In a world full of noise, games, and emotional chaos, a woman who knows how to carry peace within her stands out in a way that beauty alone never could. She becomes a safe space in a world full of storms. Her presence isn't loud, but it's felt. She doesn't beg to be seen or heard. Her calm confidence does the talking. And to a man who's grown tired of confusion, inconsistency, and emotional roller coasters, that kind of peace is irresistible. Pressure makes people retreat. When a woman constantly questions, constantly pushes, constantly needs reassurance to feel secure, it creates an environment of tension. It might come from a place of love or fear, but the result is the same. It makes the relationship feel like work, like a test, like something that must be survived instead of enjoyed. Nobody wants to feel like they're walking on eggshells or that their every move is being analyzed. It's not about playing it cool or being emotionally detached. It's about learning to self-soothe, to trust, and to allow space for things to unfold naturally. When a woman carries peace, she doesn't need to prove herself. She knows her worth, and she trusts that what is meant for her will not have to be forced. That doesn't mean she accepts the bare minimum or stays silent when something is wrong. It means she chooses grace over drama, calm over control, and clarity over chaos. Her peace comes from within, not from whether or not someone calls back, replies fast, or offers constant validation. She's not shaken by the external because her inner world is solid. Men who are emotionally mature crave that kind of peace. They're not looking for someone to complete them. They're looking for someone who complements them, someone who adds calm to their life, not stress. A peaceful woman is a breath of fresh air in a world where pressure has become the norm. She doesn't accuse, she observes. She doesn't attack, she communicates. She doesn't force the relationship forward, she lets it flow and watches who naturally shows up. Her peace sets the tone, and a man who's ready will match it. There is a quiet power in not needing to control the outcome. Pressure often comes from fear, fear of losing, fear of being abandoned, fear of not being enough. But peace is rooted in trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the timing, and trust in your ability to handle whatever comes. A peaceful woman doesn't chase clarity from others because she's already clear with herself. She doesn't beg for reassurance because she's anchored in her identity. That doesn't make her emotionless. It makes her emotionally intelligent. There's a difference between expressing your needs and pressuring someone to meet them. One invites connection, the other causes distance. When a woman expresses her feelings with calm and clarity, she opens the door for healthy communication. But when she uses guilt, ultimatums, or emotional outbursts to get what she wants, it often creates resistance. Nobody wants to feel like they're constantly being tested or that love is being measured by how much they give under stress. Real love grows in peace, not pressure. A peaceful woman also sets boundaries without drama. She knows how to say no without explanation. She knows how to walk away without a scene. She doesn't fight to be chosen. She doesn't demand energy from someone who's inconsistent. She doesn't need chaos to feel connection. She values her mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being so much that she refuses to let anyone disrupt it. That kind of inner peace is magnetic. It draws in people who are healthy, stable, and intentional. Pressure is loud and temporary. Peace is quiet and lasting. When you're always pressuring someone, whether it's for more commitment, more affection, or more attention, you create an imbalance. It no longer feels like a relationship. It feels like a transaction. But peace creates space for the right person to choose you freely, not because they're cornered, but because they want to. And there's nothing more beautiful than being wanted without having to demand it. Men don't run from strong women. They run from the weight of being constantly pressured to prove something. But a strong woman with peace, she's the one they stay for. Because in her they find not only attraction, but restoration. They don't feel judged, tested, or drained. They feel inspired to be better, to show up fully, to commit without fear. Peace doesn't mean you avoid conflict. It means you approach it with maturity, confidence, and calm. And that kind of peace isn't just attractive, it's unforgettable. Loving yourself first is non-negotiable. It's the foundation for everything you allow, everything you attract, and everything you tolerate. When a woman truly loves herself, she becomes unavailable for confusion, for disrespect, and for anything that doesn't serve her growth or peace. It's not a cliche, it's a way of life. Self-love isn't just about spa days and affirmations. It's about setting standards, enforcing boundaries, walking away from what hurts, and choosing yourself. Every single time someone asks you to choose between them and your dignity. A woman who hasn't learned to love herself often finds herself stuck in relationships where she's overgiving, overthinking, and over-explaining. She's constantly seeking validation outside of herself, waiting for a man to confirm her worth. She ignores red flags because she's afraid of being alone. She tolerates mixed signals because she believes some love is better than none. But love that costs you your peace, your voice, and your identity is not love. It's emotional debt. When you don't love yourself, you end up paying a high price for temporary attention, hoping that eventually someone will value what you've been giving away for free. Self-love changes the way you speak to yourself. It silences the inner critic that tells you you're too much or not enough. It replaces shame with grace, fear with faith, and doubt with truth. When you love yourself, you no longer entertain people who make you feel like you have to prove your worth. You don't get caught in the cycle of chasing closure, waiting for apologies, or begging to be understood. You realize that your healing is your responsibility, and your peace is your priority. You stop trying to earn love and start expecting it to be mutual, respectful, and consistent. Loving yourself first also changes the way you love others. It teaches you to love from overflow, not from emptiness. You no longer give in hopes that someone will finally see your value. You give because you want to, not because you're afraid of losing someone. You love deeply, but you love wisely. You're still soft, but you're no longer naive. You can forgive, but you don't forget the lesson. And when someone disrespects you, you don't stay to teach them how to treat you. You walk away to protect the love you've built within. Women who lack self-love often carry the weight of others' emotions. They feel responsible for fixing broken men, healing unresolved trauma, or proving their ride or die. But real love doesn't ask you to lose yourself to keep someone else. It doesn't demand that you shrink, silence your needs, or settle for less than you deserve. When you truly love yourself, you stop accepting survival mode relationships. You don't need to be anyone's savior, you just need to be your own. You save yourself by refusing to sacrifice your worth in the name of potential or fear. Loving yourself means taking accountability for your choices without judging yourself for past mistakes. It means looking in the mirror and deciding to choose better, not because you hate who you were, but because you're learning to honor who you are becoming. It's giving yourself grace on the days when you fall short and courage on the days when you feel stuck. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. When you commit to self-love, you stop making decisions from a place of fear and start choosing from a place of wholeness. There's power in a woman who can sit with herself, enjoy her own company, and not feel empty without someone next to her. She's not desperate to be chosen because she's already chosen herself. She doesn't fear loneliness because she's filled her own cup, and that kind of woman is rare, not because it's impossible to become her, but because too many are waiting for someone else to give them the love they haven't yet given themselves. The way you love yourself sets the tone for how others love you. If you constantly ignore your own needs, accept disrespect, or stay silent when you're hurting, you show others that you don't see yourself as worthy. But when you speak up, when you walk away, when you choose peace over pressure, you send a clear message. I know who I am, and I won't settle for less. That's not pride. That's power. Self-love is a daily practice, not a destination. It's in the choices you make, the standards you set, and the way you refuse to abandon yourself just to keep someone else around.